Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lucas Kilder. I'm from Brazil. I work at Sicredi as a data engineer in the agribusiness data team, and I'm very happy to be here with you guys. That's the first time that I'm part of Teradata Possible, and I'm very excited to be here with you. At this moment, excited and nervous, speaking in front of you, a qualified audience is always a challenge, but I'm confident that everything gonna be all right here. And I would like to enjoy this moment and say thank you very much for all Teradata team, especially Nathan, Jean, Bruno Lomolo, que não está aqui, Lucas da Silva, that's here, and Travis Stern as well. By the time that you heard about the project, guys, and all the steps after that, your support, your attention, it was very important for the success of this project. So thank you so much. And before I start to talk about our project, I would like to say that this presentation is structured in 3 steps, basically. And the first step, we're going to talk about our business challenges, our business context, and we're going to also talk about the context of our economy in Brazil, focused on agribusiness sector, the context of our company, and the reasons why we need to develop this solution. That's what we call the big picture of the scenario. In the second step, we're going to talk about the solution that we implemented, and in the first approach, we used Databricks, but we didn't achieve success using Databricks. That's the reason why we decided to change our approach and use Teradata, and we achieved success using Teradata. So in the second step, we're going to compare the results between Databricks and Teradata, and we're going to demonstrate some advantages that we realized using Teradata instead of Databricks. Finally, in the last step, we're going to talk about the benefits that we realized after have developed this project. In other words, what are the gains that we have in Sicredi with this project? So let's go ahead. I hope you enjoy it. As you know, guys, we are in Brazil. Brazil is a big country. It's one of the largest countries in the whole world. And we are a country recognized by our forests. We have, for example, the Amazon, the most famous forest in Brazil, I suppose it too. But we don't have only the Amazon. I could mention here, for example, Pantanal, Mata Atlântica, Cerrado. These are other important forests in Brazil. And bringing numbers for this talk, we can say that Brazil is the second country with the largest forest here in the whole world, holding 12% of the planet's forests. The first one is Russia, with 20% of the planet's forests, and the second one is Brazil, with 12% of the planet's forests. This number means that 58% of the land area in Brazil is covered by forests. In other words, we also can say that it means almost 500 million hectares. And at least in my opinion, this is the most impressive number when I talk about forests in Brazil. I talk about almost 500 million hectares. And why this number is so impressive, in my opinion? The next point will help us better understand this context. So, the total forest area in Brazil is larger than the entire land area of many countries such as Germany, Japan, Italy, UK. And we know that the forests in Brazil are important not only for our country, but to the whole world. And we are aware that you need to preserve and protect them. And at the site, we have the forests in Brazil, but on the other hand, we have the agribusiness sector in Brazil that's very relevant. Agribusiness plays an important role in our economy in Brazil, and we also can say that the agribusiness in Brazil feeds the world in many crops. I also brought some numbers about agribusiness to discuss about. Let's gonna see. In 2024, for example, last year, the agribusiness sector represented 22% to Brazil GPD. And look, Brazil is one of the top 10 economies in the world. And the agribusiness sector represented in the last year almost a quarter of this economy. That's very relevant. Also in the last year, for example, Brazil exported more than 153 billion in agribusiness products. As I mentioned before, Brazil feeds the world in many crops, and this number put it in evidence. 153 billion in agribusiness products exported in the last year. And when we talk about agribusiness sector, this is a relevant number. You know, we have in Brazil more than 8 million of hero production areas. And look, 58% of the land area in Brazil are forests, and 30% of the land area in Brazil are rural production areas. These two different words, they need to coexist together because both of them, they are important. They are important to our country. Let me go back here. They are important to our country. So I brought some numbers about agribusiness to deep dive in this context. So as I mentioned here, 20% to Brazil GPD in the last year was represented by agribusiness sector. If you analyze, for example, the soy production, in the last year, 40% of all soy produced in the whole world was produced in Brazil. Sugar production in 2024, Brazil leads the global sugar production with 24% of the sugar produced in the world. Probably you used sugar produced in Brazil in the last year to drink coffee or make some cake, for example. When you talk about, for example, the coffee production, and I need to confess a big mistake in my life, I don't drink coffee, really. Sometimes my wife questions me, how do you get to work with technology and you don't drink coffee? And I work with technology in a financial institution, you know. That sounds insane, I know. But in the last year, Brazil produced 32% of all coffee produced in the world. So these numbers, they are important to put in evidence that the agribusiness in Brazil is very important, is very relevant, and feeds the world. I could mention here, for example, the rice production, the beans production, the corn production in Brazil, because these are other important productions. But I think that these crops, they are enough to exemplify that. And where is the Sicredi in this context? We are the top one private lender for the agribusiness sector in Brazil. And we have over 3,000 financial centers, more than 45,000 employees, over 9.5 million clients, and have more than 104 credit unions. And when we talk about our agribusiness sector, 90 billion in low portfolio balance in the agribusiness. Now that we have this context, the context about agribusiness in Brazil, the context about forests in Brazil. So what's our project about? What's our objective? Our project has the object to verify what the rural production areas overlap with forest areas in Brazil. So simple, no mystery. And how we do it? How do we do it? Through the integration of geospatial data from forest areas and rural production zones in Brazil. And why do you need to evaluate that? Why do you need to evaluate if there is an overlap? There are three reasons that we're going to talk about too. The first reason is in Brazil, we have a regulatory framework, and it's explicit in this regulatory framework that we can't provide money for a farmer that his area or her area overlap with the forest area. That's the rule. We can't break the law, and we're a company with a serious compliance. So the framework, the regulatory framework says that you can't offer a money for a farm that his area overlap with the forest. So there's no escape out. We need to follow that. The second reason is cost reduction. Before we developed this project, we had work with us an outsourced company, and we had to pay for this company to do the job, you know. And imagine that, for example, 100 people in Brazil decide to go to a Sicredi financial center today and decide to get credit with us. We had to pay 100 times for this company evaluate each rural production area, to evaluate if the rural production area of these farmers overlap with a forestry area. So it was so expensive. That's the reason why we decided to develop this project to reduce our operational cost. The last reason that we decided to develop this project is our commitment to a sustainable development. Sicredi is a company recognized and with environment. We got many awards in the last year, for example, in 2023, about sustainable development. So this commitment for us is not an easy discourse. We do it in our schedule. So that's the three reasons that we decided to develop this project. And how it all started. As I mentioned before, on the first approach, we decided to use Databricks, so that was the data architecture. And we have two different data sources on the right side, in the left side in your perspective. The rural producers database and the first database. These two different databases are provided by Brazilian government. It's open for everyone to download that. And in these two different databases, we have the field geometry. And in this field, the content of this field is the geospatial information of the rural production area and the forest area. And the context was we downloaded these two different databases. We process it using Databricks, and we used a library called Sedona, and we crossed this data with our customer database to see who is our client, who is the farmer that's inside of the rural producer database. That's our client, and then we had the final output in Databricks, a table, and for a political question, Sicredi, we needed to use SAS to connect Databricks and the Oracle transactional database, and all the Sicredi's financial centers in Brazil got access to our data. But what's the problem with this structure? Process time over 10 hours. And then, when it happened, we were discussing, what's the reason that the process time was over 10 hours? And we were investigating this context, and we realized that even though these two different databases are provided by the Brazilian government, they have different patterns in the geospatial information. And how are we going to solve that? We adopted the double KB geometry standard. This is an international standard, and we adopted this standard to solve this problem, to see if the process time would be better after that. But we figured out other problem, process our data in Databricks. We had a high volume of geometries for evaluation, and there is another problem that a geospatial information, a geospatial data, Sometimes is over, for example, 2,000 characters. It's very, very large, you know? And how to solve that? We partition the execution process with a fixed number of forests per block. We decide, okay, it's not work process all the forests, all the rural production areas. Let's partition that and see if it's gonna solve our problem and process all the data about forests and about the rural production area. And that was a structure after these problems that we tried to fix. However, we still had a low performance in geospatial joy. And after fix these problems, our performance was over 4 hours. It wasn't good enough. That's the reason why we decided to change our approach and use Teradata. What we did in this course, just replace Databricks for Teradata, and we used some functions that we're gonna talk after that to make our process much better when we compare it with Databricks. The process time using Teradata, it was 1 hour and 20 minutes, which means 72% and a better performance compared to the initial approach. And what we realized using Teradata instead Databricks. The first thing, the time process, 1 hour and 20 minutes compared with Databricks that was over 4 hours and 30 minutes. Moreover, we realized some criteria for the success of this project using Teradata. Faster process time, that you already saw. Simple code, and it means that when I have a simple code, it's easier to maintain this code, and native functions in Teradata. And why native functions are important? Because when you use a Databricks, we had to use many libraries, many functions. We need to turn around the world to process the data. And using Teradata with native functions, the code was easier to select, to process, to see step by step what was happening. So I'd like to put in evidence these two functions, inline length and Hilbert R3. Hilbert R3 is my favorite one. This is a function that organizes your geospatial data in a smart way that when you're gonna select your geospatial data, it's gonna be faster than when you don't use this function. And inline length, this is a function that fit the size of your data according the numbers of characters that's the size, that's this data. So these two functions are so important to become the process time better than when you don't use these functions. And it was very important to have this result. And what are the benefits for Sicredi that we realized after have developed this project? The first benefit was cost reduction. As I mentioned before, we had an outsourced company working with us, and after have developed this project, we didn't need more this company doing this job, and it was very important because it was very expensive, and now we don't have more this cost. The second benefit that we realized that we don't have no more external dependence. We don't depend of this company because imagine that if we need to offer a credit for a farmer, we had to wait this company, evaluate if we had intersection or not between these two different areas, and this company needed to give back the information for us to return the information for the farm. So with this project, we 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 finished this dependency. And there is a legal risk mitigation. As a financial institution, uh, we can't provide money for a farm, as I mentioned before. This is the law. This is the regulatory framework in Brazil, and they need to respect that. And if we provide money for a farmer that his area, her area overlap with the first area, we could suffer sanctions by Brazilian government. We could suffer finance by Brazilian government. So this project solved this problem for us. Another benefit that we realize with this project is image risk mitigation. Can you imagine, for example, if you decide to provide money for any farmer without criteria, people could consider a company as a company that provides money for deforestation, and it would be damage for our image, for our reputation. I'm not a marketing specialist, but I know, and you also know, that a company's image, a company's reputation is also its value. So it's very important to protect our image and our reputation, and this project works as a shield to protect Sicredi's image and Sicredi's reputation. And the last benefit that we realized with this project is our commitment to sustainable development. We truly believe that it's very important to see our company making money, to see our company increase in our business. So we need to do that with criteria. And a sustainable development is a criteria for Sicredi. And we got awards in the last years that prove that. For example, in 2023, we got an Environment Finance Impact Award as a Land of the Year. In this award, we invested in projects about renewable energy, green energy, energy efficient. So this award is a proof that Sicredi has a serious commitment with sustainable development. And the last year, for example, we got the Environment Finance Impact Award, Impact Initiative of the Year, Latin America and Caribbean. In this award, we invested in projects in regions with low HDI and projects that were led by women. And finished in the last year, also in the last year, we got the award Top 5 Most Innovative Financial Institutions in the 10th edition of the Valor Inovação Brasil. So these awards prove that our company has a serious commitment to sustainable development, and it's not an easy discourse for us, and we're going to continue to do that. Make our company increase, making money for our business, but with criteria, and that sustainable development is a criteria for us. That's it. Thank you.
Any questions? I'm sure there'll be a few. I have one. I'm interested on Databricks, and did you use delta tables, I imagine? Did you try and tune those before you went to Teradata? Did you think that object storage and data stored in object store had a factor in performance, or was it just the functions?
Yeah, and what I realized using Databricks is we used a library called Sedona, and this library was created to process geospatial data, but when we processed a large amount of data, a marginal amount of geospatial data, it didn't work very well. So that's the reason why, in my opinion, using Databricks, it wasn't so good.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I was interested to your comment on complex and non-complex code. Did you find that you had to write more complex code in Databricks because it was Spark-based?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
The code, you said the code was complex in Databricks, simple in Teradata.
Okay.
Is that because of Spark versus SQL?
Yeah, yeah. And in the bricks, we needed to use many libraries. And with these libraries, in each libraries, you have many different functions, you know. And as I mentioned, we needed to turn around the words to get the better version of the data to cross the geospatial data of the rural production area and the forest area. So using their bricks, it was so complex to do that. And in Teradata, we have, for example, ST functions that I didn't mention here, but these are functions that you can use. They are native functions in Teradata that you can use to cross the geospatial data. It becomes the code easier than using Databricks.
Yeah, great. Questions from the tables? Yep.
Thanks. Fantastic presentation and great use case.
Thank you.
Wanted to get a better understanding of the reason you have SAS here. When we know that Teradata can handle a lot of what the SAS database is doing, is there specific functions that SAS is running that Teradata can't handle at the same time to cut your processing speed even more? SAS, what is SAS doing in this?
Okay. Okay.
It's just using SAS
Yeah.
for ETL?
Yeah. In
Okay.
Sicredi, we have a security question. We have a question about the policy that you need to follow, and the security team in Sicredi make us use SAS to integrate Teradata and Oracle. We can't access the Oracle directly because Oracle is our transitional basis that all the Sicredi branches in Brazil use that. So we pass through SAS, and the SAS send the data to Oracle, and they have this tool here because this is a security question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. Did you know me already? I'm from Brazil too. But we talk a little bit, but congratulations for the idea for this project. But I think it's very good idea. Did you talk to the Brazil government? Because I can see this kind of project being regulated for all the companies that make these kind of transactions with agricultura, como que é? Produtores rurais em inglês?
Farmer.
With farmers. Could be regulated national in Brazil. Did you talk with someone in Brazil government?
Yeah. O Banco Central in USA it's FID. In Brazil, we say Banco Central. The Banco Central in Brazil recognized this project in the last year as a project that has this initiative to evaluate if you have an intersection between a rural production area and a forestry area. And the government in Brazil knows and recognizes in this project.
First of all, we have already met. Congratulations on your presentation. And one question that interests us as tax administration, how long did it take and how hard it was to transform the databases, the rural producers and forest database in spatial information inside Teradata?
So, it was users, first of all, because Lucas da Silva helped us. I'm just kidding, but as I mentioned, Teradata has native functions that help us to transform the geospatial data that we get. and the Brazilian government, led available for us these two different data sources, and using Teradata, use these native functions, it was easier to process and cross the geometry field about the rural production areas and the forest areas. So the native functions in Teradata become the process easier to process that.